the reason why it's important to know what your gifts are, and by the way, gifts and talents and purpose I use interchangeably, that will define everything in your life. That will give you the clarity and actually the freedom. When you know what you are here to do, you can go and do that. And although there may still be some fear or some hesitation or some, putting everything in park instead of moving inside, when you know what you are here to do, you can't help but go and do it.
Hey, this is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 122 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And today, our guest is Kim Coles. Now, are you somebody who's struggling to figure out what your purpose is in life, what your gift is, how to really unleash your talents and create something in this world? Well, this episode is for you, and it was so amazing and so inspiring to be able to speak to Kim Coles. Now, you guys probably remember her as Sinclair from Living Single, but she's more than just an actress and comedian. Kim is now an author, speaker, and coach, and we talked all about how she was able to work through challenges she had in her life and really focus in on honing her personal gifts and talents. And I feel like this is something that a lot of us need. Like, what do you do when your back is against the wall and you really want to figure out how to take the next step in your life? Kim shares so much insight, so much personal stories, so much in this episode that I know you guys will love. Some of the things that we talk about in this episode include how Kim got her start in comedy, how she was able to discover her gift of love and laughter and transition into speaking. We talk about why figuring out your gifts is so important, the power of sharing your story, the best gift Kim ever gave herself, and most importantly, how to keep pushing yourself and remain empowered even when you feel like giving up. So we are still doing our giveaway of the week for the month of December. This week's giveaway is with Dashiki Pride. Dashiki Pride was started by three sisters, Mary, Sonia, Lillian, and Marian, back in 2014 because they wanted to really embrace their love for their Nigerian culture and find a way to share that with the world. We're going to be giving away 4 dashikis from their collection. All you have to do is go to dreamsanddrive.com/win, dreamsanddrive.com/win. So remember, 4 dashikis, and just as a note, these are standard unisex large size, so you can rock them however you want, but just keep that in mind when you're entering. I encourage you guys all to go enter dreamsanddrive.com/win to win a dashiki from Dashiki Pride. Also, make sure that you're following us on social. We are Dreams and Drive across the board, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please keep on with these Instagram story shares. I do appreciate it. I love it when I see mentions pop up on my phone. I respond to people who shout us out. This is the best way for us to work together to get more people to know about Dreams and Drive. So every time that you guys share it, I'm just so grateful and so thankful because I know that somebody else is now being introduced. So please, please, please continue to share this episode, screenshot wherever you're listening, and then post it to Instagram stories. As always, our show notes are available at dreamsanddrive.com. So a quick note about this audio. I wasn't able to do this interview via Skype last minute. Kim needed it to be via phone. I went to my backup plan, which is my free conference line, and we did this via phone. And there's going to be times in your own dream driving journey where you won't be able to have the perfect experience or the setup that you planned. But guess what? You have to make it work with what you got, and don't allow something not being perfect to mess up what the end goal was, which was to have an interview. So I hope you guys enjoy listening to Kim. Can't wait to hear what you think. Hi, Kim. Welcome to this episode of Dreams and Drive. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
As I was telling you before we got started, it's just a pleasure. You know how sometimes you have people that you've always wanted to talk to. So when your team reached out and pitched this idea, I was like, yes, this is going to happen. And here we are.
Well, I'm glad, as you say, my team, my Jennifer heard or I think she's had other people on your show, and she's been reaching out and reaching out more to places and people that she thinks are a good fit for us to have some sort of collaboration, and here we are.
So one of the first things that I love our guests to do is to go back in time, right? I think it's really important for us to reflect on who we were as children and how that, that those childlike dreams manifested into our adult selves. So if I had to say who was a little Kim, right? Who was the 8-year-old Kim? What was inspiring you back then?
So I love to tell people my age, so when I give you the references from that age, you won't be too shocked. I am 55 going on 56. And I was watching a lot of television back then. So a lot of my influences, besides family and my great, amazing aunties and my mother, who is just so yummy, I was watching Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball and Flip Wilson and lots of the just great comedy, and Bill Cosby and Richard Pryor. So I was really very, and Bugs Bunny. So I was watching a lot of television back then and very much influenced by the funny people on TV.
Did you have a dream of one day wanting to be on TV back then, or did that come later?
I did have a dream of wanting to be on TV, although I didn't fully understand it. I didn't know that I could really make that happen. I just knew that these were funny people. I liked what they did. I loved the variety shows, but I didn't say, one day that's going to be me. I just maybe as I got older, I began to think that. But at 8 and 9, I didn't think that could be me. I just was so in love with it and so influenced by it that I thought, I wonder what it would be like to do that, but I didn't set out at that time to make that happen per se.
So at that age, if I had to say, Kim, what did you want to be when you grew up? How do you think you would have answered? Or what do you want to be when you grow up?
I didn't have an answer. I just knew I wanted to. I didn't have an answer then. I wasn't sure. I come from a family of educators and teachers, and my mom wanted me to be a teacher. I don't think I have a memory of knowing what I wanted to do and being clear that I could pick something now. I don't think I had a memory of that. Like, I didn't say, I want to grow up and be a nurse. I don't have a memory of knowing or wanting anything in particular except watching TV and laughing. I enjoyed reading. Well, I will say this. Okay, I take that back. There was a point where I wanted to be an astronaut.
I wish you could see my face. I'm like, really?
Yes, an astronaut. Well, because there was a show on TV called Lost in Space. And Lost in Space had this, family that lived in space. They were astronauts. And I remember saying to my parents, can we be the first Black family in outer space? And they were like, Kimberly, you do understand that's a TV show. But this is the time when people were we were going to the moon at this time. So I was like, if they're taking people to the moon and there's a TV show called Lost in Space, then we could be the first Black people in space. And that didn't work out too good. It didn't work out too well.
So it seemed like you were a dreamer, though. You definitely had that dreamer.
I was very much a dreamer, very much.
How do you think that dreamer in you developed as you grew older, as you went to college and kind of started building your career early on?
Well, I think that I have probably a little bit of a no-limit kind of attitude. Like, I have ideas that come to me all the time. And I've put my dreams in drive, as you would say. I've had enough of my ideas come to fruition that I know that I can make my dreams come true. I just have to, get a plan and have my goals. And I probably have 1,000 more things than I will ever even have a lifetime to be able to get done. I have tons of ideas and tons of dreams. And some of them are a little wacky and some of them are really wonderful. And some of them, get done and then I move on to the next thing. But, so I just know that I'm a creative and I embrace that completely.
Do you remember your first time on stage and what it was like?
That's a good question. Because my first time on stage probably happened in a church basement fashion show or something. And so that was exhilarating and that was wonderful. But I didn't think I was destined for greatness because I did a good job in the church basement, Christmas play or something. I can tell you, so I had many moments like that as a kid, like the drama, like I said, the Christmas play in church or the Christmas play in school or something. But I can tell you the moment that it felt like this could be my profession. So long story short, I was in a beauty pageant for plus size women. And I sent in my picture and they were like, oh, yes, you're in the pageant. That's perfect. We'd love to have you. And then a few weeks later, they called back and said, we're actually going to be doing a talent competition. And so because I was like, I don't have any of the traditional beauty pageant talents of singing and dancing and playing a piano concerto, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to survive this. What am I going to do? And so because I had been funny in high school, and I can come back and tell you that story if you want me to, but I'd been goofy and funny in high school, and I knew how to sort of formulate a routine. And I made a routine about how dumb I think beauty pageants are. Now, I knew that the audience was going to be full of fluffy girls, and I knew that if I made fun of the skinny girls, I would probably win them over. Like, at least I'd get them to laugh. And I had no idea that doing this routine would actually win me first runner-up. By the way, I should tell you that I twirled my baton to the tune of Thriller.
No, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And so I remember standing on stage and feeling the intense laughter and love and amazing, like, oh my God. And that was the night that I decided to become a stand-up comedian. So it's sort of a trick question. Do I remember the first time I was on stage? Yeah, several times as a kid, several times in high school, like the, fashion show, the performance in school. But the moment I was like, oh my God, I need to be doing this the rest of my life was that night in Atlantic City,
Jersey,
in New Jersey, probably in 1982 or 1983, something like that. Yep.
So when you decided that was, this was a calling of yours, how did you go about making a career, making money from it?
Well, I came up during the time when, like, Joy Behar was just, so I grew up in New York. And the women who were doing it at that time were like Joy Behar, maybe Paula Poundstone. I remember Ellen DeGeneres, I remember hearing her name here and there. Phyllis Yvonne Stickney. Who else can I think? I'm going to forget some names, and all my ladies whose names I've just forgotten, forgive me. So there were women, but women were still very much not only the minority, but the type of humor that a lot of the women did was self-deprecating humor, because that's what an audience could handle from stand-up for women. I just noticed that most of the women, their material was about how tough it was to be a woman, how difficult it was, how annoying it was, instead of the joyful experience of just, being whatever it is. Like, the experiences were about how tough it was to be a girl. And so that's what set a lot of the female comics at the time apart. You also had Marsha Warfield, who was not really doing that type of humor. She was just incredible on stage and incredible just, laughing at life in general, as opposed to making the female experience be the thing that we laughed at. So there were lots of women, but not a lot of women. Just say that a lot. I would say, no, let me say this. There were women doing it, but you had to really, really stand out in order to be seen. And male bookers of comedy clubs, like the managers, because it's a very male-driven business, the managers wouldn't always put female comics on. So you'd have a show with 8 male comics and maybe 1 woman. So the women were there, but they weren't always given the opportunity.
So how did you transition then from being a comic to being an actress and getting on shows that you are now well known for? I actually have a dream driver who wanted me to tell you, do you know your name is legendary? Lorna wanted me to say that to you. How did you make that transition then and enter the world of acting?
Well, it was the perfect job. It was a job that allowed me to be, it was in living color. And it was specific that Keenan was looking for comedians who could also do sketch comedy. Now, mind you, I've been watching sketch comedy all, from the late 60s into the 70s, whenever that genre was happening, Laugh-In and the Flip Wilson Show and other variety shows. And so I was very well versed in how to do that, even though I had no training. My training was sitting down and watching it as a kid. So when he called for comedians who could do characters, I happened to do characters in my act. And the next day when you had to show up and improv and play, and he would give you sketches to perform, I was in heaven. I was ready. And so that's how I was able to transition being a stand-up / actress, because a show came along that was looking for my particular brand of humor. And not so much my particular brand of humor, but my particular skill set. And it was a skill set I didn't even know I was developing all along. And so that's why I say, when I go back to the little girl, I didn't know I was going to grow up to do it. I just loved it so much. I had no idea that I was soaking it in so much that when the perfect opportunity came up, I was, boom, ready to do it. Now, I was only on that show for 1 year, but, the die had been cast. I was all really ready. You know what I'm saying? And so it was really great that everything came into alignment properly.
And then, you got Living Single, and you were on Living Single for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things, we could talk about that experience. I know in a lot of your interviews you talked about how that was just a very high point in your life and in your career. But one of the things, a lot of our dream drivers, we may have these moments of success, right? But then sometimes after the moments of success become these moments of not defeat, but moments of darkness, right? Could you kind of walk us through how you, what life was like after Living Single, and how you were, just what that period in your life was like, and how you were able to navigate through that?
Well, I'll be honest, and I've been transparent about this. It was a very difficult transition after Living Single was over. And after the show was over, I had some opportunities. I worked a little bit, but it wasn't like being on a series for 5 years. It wasn't like, forming a family with people. I would maybe do a pilot, and maybe hopefully it would get picked up, and often it didn't. You know what I mean? So it was really difficult. I went through a really tough depression. And like I said, I've been transparent with saying really bad depression, and so bad that I ended up just sort of shopping through all of my money. That was the way I expressed my pain, and really had to get to the point where I was like, I'm losing my mojo. And I had to understand at some point, I came to the realization that I wasn't upset because I was no longer on a TV show, because, that'd be pretty shallow to go, my gift, the only way I can express my gift is to be on a TV show, right? I came to realize that I wanted to express myself creatively. And once I got myself into therapy and got myself, sort of sorted out, I realized that my gifts of love and laughter, I can do all the time, anywhere. Love and laughter does not have to be just on a TV show. And so I actually started speaking. I hung my shingle out as a speaker as I was learning these different tips and tools and techniques on how to, access better self-worth. Because the truth is, the reason why you shop your money away is because you don't think you're worthy of keeping it, or whatever that is. And it's a big, long process that will take us, a long time to go through. But the bottom line, I realized that it was a little bit of self-worth, a little bit of lack of self-worth, or questions around self-worth, questions around my abilities. And once I got clear that my my divine gifts on this earth are love and laughter, and that I can do that any place, anytime, then I started speaking. And now I developed this other, aspect to my world and to my business and to my bank account, to be honest. And from there, I started developing books and programs and other things. I became really an evangelist for people being self-aware and for people who really delve into their purpose, delve into their gifts and talents, and go in the world and do that. So what happens now is when I get an audition, I don't feel desperate because I've built this other business for myself. I've built other opportunities for myself. And so that now an audition or a TV show would be a great addition to what I'm already doing. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of what I do. But I've created this other piece of my brand, which is so much bigger than hoping I get on a sitcom.
And I have a listener question coming from Janet and Francis, and I'm kind of combining their two questions together and putting my own spin on it. And when you made that shift from, entertainer to speaker, what were just some of the tactical things, like the business challenges that you had to work through and figure out? Because I'm pretty sure that this was a new frontier for you, right?
Well, it was new, but it was not new. Here's what I had. I had years of being on stage. So transitioning what I do as a comedian to what I do as a speaker for me was not difficult because I'm going to speak and I'm still going to add humor to what I do. In fact, I have several bits that I do as a stand-up that I can also do as a speaker. I just make shifts. And by doing, I learned to shift here and there. I learned that you can take an audience high and low, but I had already learned that in stand-up. I would say most of the skills I learned as a stand-up, listening to an audience, being in the room. Like I'm a speaker that, I may have a direction of where I want to go when I speak, but I also pay attention to what the audience wants and needs, and I feed them that as well. And it's interesting. Maybe the booking is a little bit different. Maybe sometimes. So there's how do I say? Just like the booking that you get as an actress is different than the booking that you get as a stand-up comedian, which is different than the bookings you get as a model, but each just have their own template for how it happens. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of me learning how the speaking. So in the speaking world, it's a meeting planner, and the meeting planner rules the roost, and you want to have a conversation with them and find out what they want. And some speaking gigs pay in advance and some don't. So that piece of it the mechanics of it didn't matter to me. It was just taking the skills I'd already learned as a performer and then adding them to this. I will tell you a big difference for me is that often when I perform, I have a moment or moments after I'm done where either I don't see the audience right away or I don't see the audience at all. Some stand-up gigs, if we're doing 5 shows in a weekend, after the show's over, I don't go and meet the audience. I'm done. Like maybe a few VIPs come backstage, but you do your show and then you're done. As a speaker, because I often have either my books for sale or my products and programs for sale, I'm often walking directly off the stage and back to the back of the room where my table is. So it took me, and it's still taking me a minute to get used to not having that separation between Kim, the performer, and Kim sitting at her table being Kim Coles. Like I usually like to have a moment to, reapply my lip gloss, wipe the sweat off my brow, readjust. And oftentimes I don't have a chance to readjust. And that's been, I would say the biggest challenge for me, believe it or not, is like, okay, turning off performance but still being on. Because if you're sitting at that table, people expect you to be on. Do you know what I'm saying? And
yeah, that is so true. Because people who are going to see you speak also want to feel that same experience when they're buying your book, when they're interacting with you after the engagement.
And I'll tell you something else, too, what's different, an adjustment I had to make. So if somebody comes to see me in a comedy club, they have paid to come and see me or whatever the lineup is, right? And it's been advertised that I was going to be there. In some speaking engagements, I'm the keynote. People did not come just to see me. They came to the event or they came to the luncheon, and I happen to be the keynote. So it's also getting used to introducing people to me. So there's people who see me who've never seen me before. I'm a speaker. I'm not that girl from the TV show. Now, I do give them context and explain that. Sometimes it's not important that I was an actress and I was on a TV show. What's important is the message that I came to deliver that day. So it took a minute to also get used to that there are people I will speak with or speak to that have no idea who I am. Most of the other times, people knew who I was because they were coming to see me, or they knew I was part of the lineup. So it's interesting you asked me that question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. That was the adjustment I had to get used to, that I'm not, in many cases, this deck has not been stacked for me in that people have come to see Kim Coles or Sinclair or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Do you like that you have this ability to, because, I'm not an actress. I've never been on a show. And, I feel like people definitely, there's this character that people definitely see you as, right? Is that ever sometimes, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but do you ever sometimes wish people wouldn't always associate you with that, but kind of associate you with, actually, I don't even know what I'm asking, but do you get what I'm trying to ask? It's like I'm trying to explain it, but I can't figure it out.
Let me say this. You talk about living single specifically,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me say this. I, at this point, and it's been many, many years now, 20 plus years, or 20 years or so, I fully embrace living single, and I fully embrace Sinclair. And I've actually had people walk up to me, many people walk up and go, "Hey, Sinclair." And I go, "Hi, my name is really Kim Coles. Hi." They go, "I know your real name. You always go Sinclair to me." And you know what? I embrace it, and I'm okay with it, because I know how iconic that show is for some people, particularly in the African American community. I know how important and how positive our characters were and how wonderful it was. And so at the time that I am taping this, recording this, I should say, I still fully embrace it, and I expect to embrace it for a really long time. Now, that being said, I really want people to be open to who I am and what I'm doing now. So when somebody, if we're talking, they go, "Oh my God, I really wish Living Single would come back." And I go, "Yes, it would be really nice if there was a reboot, or it would be nice to come back and visit those characters, but I wouldn't want to do that for the rest of my life. I'm multi-layered. So I would absolutely, because I know you're going to ask it, I would absolutely be interested in like a reboot for a season, or maybe a very special Living Single, like a one-time special or something, or, maybe one more season of the show.
I definitely want to get into us talking about, because I'm just so intrigued, and I love what you do when talking about finding your gifts and really tapping into your gifts. Why do you think that we all need to find that time to really figure out what our gifts are in this world? And I know that you said that you figured out yours was love and laughter, right? How can we as listeners tap into our inner gifts and really use those to create and to put good energy out into this world?
Right. So I say that my gifts are love and laughter, and my other special gift is in seeing gifts in others and helping them to bring them forth so they can open them and share them with the world. So it's, recognizing my gifts and recognizing and reminding others that they have gifts too. Those are my gifts, I feel. So what I would say to you, first of all, is the reason why it's important to know what your gifts are. And by the way, gifts and talents and purpose I use interchangeably. The reason why it's important to know that, because that will define everything in your life. That will give you the clarity and actually the freedom. When you know what you are here to do, you can go and do that. And although there may still be some fear or some hesitation or some, putting everything in park instead of moving inside, when you know what you are here to do, you can't help but go and do it. And so the way you start to find these things, and I'm going to be talking about this a lot. I have a 7-day challenge I'm going to be doing on Facebook, which I'll tell you how to find in a minute.
Okay.
It's all about asking yourself those questions. What what is it that when I do it, it lights up my soul? It makes me so happy. That's the thing you should go and do. Like, people think that purpose is way, way, way out there. Now, you should see me right now. I'm reaching way out there. Purpose is right at the end of your nose. It's everything that you love in your life that lights you up, that gives you joy, that makes you happy. And maybe you just need to define it a little bit and then find out how you can make a living doing it as well. But it is really your purpose is to go on the quest to find out what that is. And some of it is about facing your fears and like your limitations, your own limitations, but also asking yourself what your passions are, and then being persistent and being brave enough to just go for it and give it a try. And I think it would help if people knew that you don't have to do it alone. You can get help or get a mentor or get accountability buddies to help you go through this experience. But that in doing this, this is how you leave your legacy. This is how you leave your legend. Leave your legacy. This is how you create your life as a legend. And I don't mean like a legend, like Wonder Woman or Superman. I mean, each one of us has that within us, and each one of us has the ability to create even a drop in the pond. Like, so many of us think that purpose has to mean I have to be the new Oprah Winfrey or the new Mother Teresa. Like, no, it doesn't even have to be that. It has to be your version of doing what you do in the world, and you have no idea how that can make a difference. It might be someone doing what they love to do, and it's a mom, and now your child sees you live life out loud, and now they know they have permission to do so. And so that's what it is. I mean, like, I have no doubt that you and this podcast, it's part of your purpose. And some people go, wait a minute, it's a podcast. What's the big deal? No, it's everything. Because people will listen to this and go, I need to put my dreams into drive. I need to stop sitting on the sidelines and live out loud. And you've created a huge ripple in the pond by just being you and saying, I'm going to do this thing, and then actually doing it. You're living your purpose. And I bet you enjoy doing it. I bet
yes, I do. I'm smiling right now. I'm smiling right now as you said that.
Now, is there work involved? Yeah. Do you have to edit? Yeah. Do you have to, send Kim Cole the dial-in number? Yeah. Do you have to do all this stuff? Do you have to promote it? Yeah. But is it the thing that makes you happy? Then yes. And that's what I would say. So just stop looking way out there and just ask yourself that series of questions. And like I said, I'll give you the information for people to join this 7-day. It's going to be an ongoing challenge that I'm going to have available on Facebook. It's going to be free. And then if people want to work even more deeply with me, I love doing that. I love doing one-on-one work and clarity work. And I have other courses that help people with finding their purpose and tapping into their self-worth. And in my case, sharing my story changed everything for me, because you think that you're going through something, you think that you're all by yourself. And then you start sharing your story with others, and you find out you're not alone, and you are brave and more beautiful than you ever imagined, and that you have no idea, like I said, how you can touch someone else's life.
That is so true. And I love that you mentioned that, just because I feel like that's just something that I feel like has been a theme that has been coming up even in my own life, of sharing things that you may think that you're suffering alone, but you realize you're not. But Kim, we talked a lot about just things that you've done, a lot of the good stuff. Is there anything when it comes to challenges that you're facing and just building these new business ventures and venturing and speaking and doing all this great stuff that you're doing with gifts and clarity work? What are some of just the day-to-day challenges that you're working through?
I'll tell you what my challenge is. My challenge is being healthy, exercising. That's what's missing. Exercising and getting more sleep and eating healthfully. That's my challenge. I have a tendency to grind on my computer, and I'm sitting, at my computer all day and not getting up early in the morning and going for a walk or going to the gym. So that's my challenge: eating healthy and exercise and getting enough rest. That's my challenge, 100% right now. And is it doable? Absolutely. I just need to put some discipline in place. And that's another thing I would tell anyone who's listening, that Just because you have something that you're passionate about and interested in, you still need to have discipline around it. So if I'm passionate about my health and well-being, then I need to create some discipline around doing it every day, doing what I need to do every day. So, yep.
What would you say is the best gift you've given yourself? And that could be figuratively or that could be literally. So I think sometimes we think about giving to others. What about what we're giving to ourselves that's invaluable, you know?
I think the way I got out of depression was I got into therapy. That was the best gift I could have given myself. It really was, because that was the key to me being able to be here and be in this present state of mind. Because I really went through I considered suicide. It was so bad. I just wanted the pain to stop. And I'm glad that I had enough light come in to say, go get some help. And it was the change. It was the best gift I could have given myself. The gift of believing that I could be okay and that I would figure it out. And I'll tell you what the other gift was. The perception and the perspective that I needed to go through that difficult time in order to be where I am right now. So the perspective and permission, these are all words that begin with P, perspective and permission and perfection, understanding that my life has unfolded as in its imperfect, perfect way. So, yeah.
So as we wind down, Kim, I just want to make sure I did promise some of our listeners that I've asked some questions. And here's one that I think is really a really good question. It's coming from Lorna. And her question is, what's the humblest position or work that you've done to progress in your career?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. Let me think.
Okay, let me ask you a better one then. Let me get a better one for you here.
No, that's a good one. I just don't know. Maybe we'll come back to it since you're going to edit this a little bit. Let me come up with, because I have so many humbling moments. I'm like, what's the most humbling?
Okay, here's one. This one is coming from the people at the Get Caught Up podcast. How have you been able to maintain longevity in the entertainment business? Like, why do you think people still remember your name and still respect you so much in this industry?
I'll tell you, that's a good question. I think because I made it my business to keep myself relevant. So I don't go to the opening of every envelope and go to every single red carpet. In fact, I've been very much absent from that. But staying interested and ready and relevant. And also, I think I have a reputation for being kind to, other performers and other, people on the set, the crew. And so I think that keeps you around a little bit longer when people have kind things to say about you. I think that keeps your name, in the ether a little bit more. I really do. I think that when people are thinking of who they want to work with, they go, Kim Coles is really nice. Let's get her in here. So I think that has something to do with it. And when I show up, I'm professional and I don't cause any trouble on the set, except maybe asking, can we change that line? Because I can't say those words. Can we fix that? For the most part, I'm a sweetheart to work with. And I think that goes a long way. It really does.
And this question's coming from me because I just thought about it, is what advice would you give to that? There's a lot of people now who want to be influencers, who want to be the leaders and thought leaders in their fields. And I feel like the whole media has changed and the entertainment business has changed in 2017. What would you say to that new person who's trying to find a way to stand out and get noticed? What should you be really focusing on?
I think that this is a trick question because I think it's great to dream to be an influencer. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great to stand out. But I don't think I think influencers rise, meaning I don't think you decide, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm going to influence people. Hello, come to me and be influenced. I think you just stand out and just do the work and let the people decide that you have influenced them. That's just my take. Now, that might be controversial. I'm not saying you don't be a leader. I'm saying be a leader, but don't do it so that people will go, oh my God, you're a leader. Do it because it needs to be done. Do it because you have found a new way to do it. Do it because you found a new way to disrupt the pattern of whatever, but don't expect that people are going to go, thank you, dear influencer, and bow down to your feet. Because I think there are people, that's why I say it was a trick question, because I heard it as if somebody is going after the fact that they want to be an influencer. You just do it, and then you become one. Mm-hmm. Other people label that as you. So I think there's a fine line between realizing that you have a new point of view, a different way of saying what has been said, because everything's been said, but maybe you've got a brand new way of doing it. Just stand out and be different, and don't expect anything other than you're going to give your best and give your all and give your brand new point of view. And then let's see if the people pick it up and the people decide that you're an influencer.
Now, I was just going to say, I think it's also about checking your intentions too, because I think sometimes we do things and aren't really thinking about, like, why is it that I'm doing that? You know, what's really motivating me to do this? And I think if you align yourself with your real motivations, you'll figure out what it is that you really want to do, right?
I think that's so true, and I wish I'd said it that way. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, you just go and do what you got to do, and do it for the right reasons. And, you know, I think of all these people, and it took me a minute. I'll tell you what, okay, I'll give you my humility moment. Because when you realize that there are people who are bloggers or YouTubers, and you're auditioning against these people, you're auditioning with these people, and it's like, wait a minute. I think of myself as a professional. I have, been immersed in the business for a long time. I didn't study as in I went to a lot of acting classes, but I've been studying the art. And now I'm up against somebody who just has a really hot blog, and that's why she's up. And so it was at first like, who does she think she is? But she just wants her chance. And if the network called her and said, I want you to audition for something, who am I to? She's not my competition. It's just that she is someone who they see as someone who has influence. And I had to come down off my hind horse off of that and go, like, you know what? There may be a time when somebody who has a higher profile than mine might be the one they get hired, because they know that she can push the show further, not because of her talent, but because she has a blog that's really hot. And that is humiliating, and it's hard. But that's not for me to, I have no control over that. They're either going to decide that they want somebody who's talented, or they're going to decide they want somebody who can push because she's got a lot of followers, or perhaps they will choose somebody who can do both. And I'm all for that. Because I'm always going to be a champion for talent in the end. And so whoever you hire, whoever gets the job, I'm just hoping that they can deliver the goods. And so if they can deliver the goods and the followers, then who am I to say, oh, well, maybe I didn't have 1 million. I only had my little 633,000 people instead of 1 million, whatever it is. So that's
still a lot.
It is a lot, right? But you'd be surprised. There are people that I go like, why am I reading against this person? Oh, that's because this person has influence. And maybe their talents lie in a different way. And I had to get humble and go, it's not about me. They're going to hire the person that they think is right for the job for whatever reason they think is right for the job, that all I have to do is keep showing up and being me, and that's what matters. And so that would be my humiliation moment. Like, it ain't about you. It's about, in the end, what they want. And it's not about your competition. It is what it is.
And like the industry and like just the way business itself is just changing. Not saying it's changing for the better, but it definitely is just it's a shifting dynamic. But thinking about all these things that you've gone through in your own personal dream driving journey, what keeps you going on those days when you might feel like giving up?
What keeps me going is I have no choice but to keep going. So I'm allowed to have a moment, but I can't let it all get me down. Mm-hmm. I can't let it get me all down. So I remember when I was all the way depressed, all the way down, all the way didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. As long as I don't let myself get all the way there, then I'm fine. So I may have a moment, but I don't let that moment last for long, because I know what it's like to really feel despair and feel like I can't do anything. The thing is that I realize, and here's the answer to the question, I realize that in the end, in the beginning and in the middle, ultimately I'm in power. If I empower myself to look at things from a different perspective, if I empower myself to lift my mood by realizing what is awesome about me and what's awesome about what I can offer the world, then those moments of despair, those moments of questioning won't last very long, because all I have to do is empower myself to look at it from a different perspective. And that's one of the things I would say to everyone who's listening, is that in the end, empower yourself to look at things from the perspective that is the most empowering for you. And that will shift you out of any negativity, any tough place, any challenge you're going through. You ask yourself a better question, like, what can I do to empower myself right now? And that will make a huge difference.
So let's go into our lightning round, Kim. I'm going to give you a prompt, and I want you to tell me the first word that comes to mind, all right? So put on your improv hat now, right? First word that comes to mind.
Okay.
That's reminding me of my high school drama days. Okay. So first word is, we're going to be sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor, okay? So think of that when you hear the words. The first word is park.
Park. Park my booty in a chair and finish writing this email sequence.
Reverse.
Any negative feelings that I didn't get things done that I needed to get done today.
Neutral.
Neutral. Oh, that's a good one. Neutral. Neutral. I don't have to have any reaction to things that don't matter, that don't fit my realm. So like when somebody comes up and, maybe something comes up in social media and it's like, oh, it's like the thing to think about or the thing to talk about, or like what you think about so-and-so or what happened with so-and-so did so-and-so. I can just be neutral and step myself out of those kinds of conversations. I didn't say that in the right way, but you know what I mean? Like whenever there's like drama coming up, I can be neutral and just stand still and wait for the drama to pass me by.
Last but not least, drive.
Drive is all about getting in the driver's seat with my goals and my dreams and my aspirations and putting the pedal to the metal and, not getting a ticket, but going as fast and as far as I can. Is a good feeling, and literally putting the top down or put the windows down and just drive as fast as I can and feel as free as I can with my creativity, my dreams, and my aspirations.
And if you want to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So just give me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road. 3 things that have helped you.
So persistence, sticking with it. Perspective, like I said, looking at things from a different way or being willing to look at things from a different way, and power, like empowering yourself to remain powerful. Because it's a choice. It's all a choice. It's all a choice. And you can be, you can just say, I'm empowering myself to remain powerful wherever I can. Boom.
So tell our dream drivers where we can find you online and check out your course and check out your book, all that stuff.
Yes. So my home right now is www.kimcoles.tv, but I can be found, and hopefully by the time this airs, I will have all of my, goods and products and service up. But I tell you where I really live. My jam is Facebook. So people can find me on, Facebook.com/Real Kim Coles. Real Kim Coles is my Facebook page, and that's where I announce pretty much everything happening in my life.
And you know what? I just have to ask you, because I also, you mentioned, like, you have to, in one of the responses to the lightning round, you talked about, like, figuring out your email sequence and all that stuff. Like, are you doing everything yourself? Like, are you out here, like, putting together all, like, your sales pages and all the copy for everything?
No, I have some help. I've got pieces of help here and there, but it's very important. Like the email sequence I'm working on right now, someone helped me. They wrote it. Now I have to go through the draft and zhuzh it up. So I'm still very much involved in all those things.
Okay.
You know, I have a VA.
It's tough.
It is. Yes, it's work. I have a VA who built a lead page for me, but I need to go in and go, okay, now adjust this. You know, that's not the copy. That's not the word I wanted to use. Let's do this. So I'm very much involved in that.
What do you think has been like the best bit of like business advice you've learned or you've heard or you've received over these past few years?
I could tell you right now that done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. And I don't implement nearly as much as I could because I feel that I need it to be perfect. And I think part of it has to do that I've built a brand that I'm hoping people expect a certain level of quality from me. And so it can't be raggedy. It's got like the pictures have to look professional. And when I go on live stream, I got to have my lighting and my lashes on, And so, but the truth is done is better than perfect. And just to get it done, just implement and then course correct as you go along the way is the thing I would say.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. It has been a pleasure talking to you today. And I know our dream drivers as well have really enjoyed listening to you and hearing your dream driving story.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure and a delight. And I'm so glad that you are doing your part in the world to make a difference. And thank you so much for being here, madam.
Thank you.
All right. So that was a wrap for episode 122 with Kim Coles. I hope that you enjoyed hearing her share her dream driving story as well as her keys to success. Now, make sure that you don't forget to enter our giveaway with Dashiki Pride. We're going to be giving away 4 dashikis from their collection. All you have to do is go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win to enter. Remember, these are unisex and they are like a one-size-fits-all standard large size. So just know that when you are entering the contest, that those are the parameters of the contest. As always, our show notes are available at dreamsanddrive.com and just click on episode 122. I also encourage everyone to join our Facebook community. You can do so by going to dreamsanddrive.com/Facebook, or if you just want to be on our online newsletter, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up for our weekly online newsletter. I'm so thankful to everyone who has been subscribing and sharing. Make sure you're following us on social. We are Dreams and Drive across the board, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you love this episode with Kim, please screenshot this. Send it to your friend, send it to your Instagram stories, post it on Twitter, Facebook, wherever. I really hope that this episode with Kim hits a lot of people because I know she's speaking truth that a lot of us need to hear. We need to hear how people like her have been able to navigate through tough times in their life and come out on top. So as I promised in the last episode, I really do thank you guys for coming through with the reviews. I appreciate it so much. We had 2 new reviews since last week, and I'm going to read them here. This one is coming from Love. Awesome podcast. She says, this podcast has been one I have listened to for some time. The inspiration and drive I get from this gives me so much joy. Thank you, Raina, for your service to the world. In the words of BJ, the Chicago Kid, I just say, fly girl, get 'em. This next one is coming from Shanisi. She says, can't get enough. I've been praying for some kind of sign. Then I found this podcast. I've been binge listening and I love it because they're tips for every entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur. If you can't find a mentor in your life, you'll definitely find some great mentors in this podcast series. Can't wait to get all caught up. Love from Barbados, Shanice. Thank you, Shanice. If you want your review read, all you got to do is leave a review and I'll read it on the next episode. Just go to Apple Podcasts, click the leave a review, and speak your truth. One last thing, we are now on Spotify. So if you listen to music on Spotify, you can now listen to one of your favorite podcasts, Dreams and Drive. Make sure to search for us and check us out there. It's going to be really fun to see if we get any new people who are just browsing through Spotify and stumble across the podcasts. All right, so our next guest is going to be Dashita Dawson, aka the Cannabis CEO, and we're going to be talking about her journey into the cannabis industry, and we're going to be talking about how she was able to make a mark in the cannabis industry and develop herself as a thought leader within such a niche space, especially as a woman of color. All right, keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 123.